Hello everybody, I am decafWave and welcome to the very first episode of Chillin' Paint, where I show you how fun and easy it is to digital paint. I'm using a Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 FE, and obviously I'm using Clip Studio Paint in simple mode, and I will be using a few custom brush packs and a few custom palettes, well, just one custom palette. All of the links will be in the description for the tools that you'll need to follow along with me. And if you just want something to watch in the background, feel free to sit back, relax, and watch me paint. So, let me show you what I've got going on here. I have a 1900 by 1200 pixel canvas. Obviously, it's the landscape. And we're only going to be using one, yes, just one layer, and let's just get started and see what we can come up with. So right now the canvas is blank, and I don't want that because I want my colors to blend on the canvas, right? So like Bob Ross, let's put quote unquote liquid white on there. So I'm going to come over to my paint bucket tool. If I can click on it, there we go. Make sure white is selected. And then we're just going to tap on the canvas, and bam, there we go. We have liquid white on our canvas. Alright, so enough goofing around. This is how I like to do my skies. I'm going to come over here, go to, if I can just, there we go. Go to the spray category, and you can see that I have the noise brush selected. And this is just how I like to put in my skies. So let's go back to our palette. Let's pick a dark blue. I guess this would be Prussian blue. And let's just fill in our sky. Remember just to have it dance around a little bit. We don't really care where it goes right now. Make sure there's a lot of dark spots, maybe lighter spots, and they're gonna get filled in anyways. So, let's have a little bit of water. Remember to always go from out to in, and like so. Make sure the corners are filled in, and just like that. We have water, and we have a sky. So now let's go over here. Let's go to our blend. I always have the soft airbrush for my blend tool, because it makes it easier. Let's adjust the opacity a little bit. Actually, let's have the opacity really low, because we don't want to lose these little spots in here. And we just go over it lightly and blend it out, blend it out, blend it out. I might want to come into these corners just to fill them out a little bit more. But there you have it. We have our sky and we have our water, just like that. And now what I want to do is come down here, and I have these brushes downloaded, so it will be at the very top in your downloaded brush category. And I want to make sure I have this tap and fan brush selected, and it's a dual brush, so you want to have the dual brush activated here. I am currently on the fan brush, and if it's off, you get to the round brush. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to just switch my color over to white and zoom in a little bit just to see what I'm doing. And let's just put in some cloud shapes. Remember, clouds are free and they just like to play around. So just like Bob Ross says, think like a cloud, you know? Maybe one goes all the way up like right here. That's really cool. And don't forget to put some dark spots in your clouds. Otherwise, they'll look like cotton balls. And what we can do is just go back to our blender brush. Maybe size it down just a tiny bit. And just blend out the bottoms of this. Maybe turn the opacity down a little bit and make it a little bit bigger. There we go. We don't want to mess with the clouds too much. Alright, fluff it up there, and fluff it up on the other side. And then just run across it a few times. There we go. We have a few clouds. So now what I want to do is I want to have something in the background here. I kind of want to make some trees. So what we're going to do is we're going to, I guess this is phthalo green. It's very green, but we need to have it dark so our light can show. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to our downloaded brushes. I'm going to be on the same brush, but I'm going to turn the dual mode off. So now we have a big old round brush. And as you can see, I'm only using one layer, so all of our colors will have a chance to blend together, which will be great. Anyways, back to our painting here. Now let's just start blocking in some basic shapes here. I'm just randomly going up and down. Let's see, let's have like a taller tree there, maybe a bigger tree here. It doesn't really matter. Not a lot of detail here yet. So there we go. I think that's pretty good. You want to keep it light, okay? So let's just take our blending brush here and just blend out the bottom just to give the illusion of mist. See how it softens it and it just goes into nothing here and it blends in with the blue? That's exactly what we want. There we go. We could leave it like this, but I want to give it a little sparkle, So let's go back to our palette. Let's give our green a little bit of a yellow hue. Make sure we go to a brighter color. And what I like to do is go back to our fan brush here. Remember, it's a tap brush, and you just want to have dual mode on. So now, what we can do, I'm going to lower the opacity a little bit. We can just start adding hints of highlights here, but we don't want to have it too much. And since my source of light is going to be in the center, I can have, just light peeking out from the edges of my trees. So maybe a little bit here, and maybe there's a little bush that lives right there. Maybe one that comes out right here. And maybe, oh yeah, I see one right here. And let's lower the brush size a little bit just so we can give this side some love too. And just tap a little bit just to give some indications of light coming through here. Okay. And that's how simple it is. So now, this is the fun part. I mean, I've been going on about how fun this is, but, let's take, let's see. It doesn't matter which hue it is. Let's just go to really dark brown here. Let's have some, maybe hills in the background. So let's just pick any random spot here. increase the size of my brush here. And let's just go down here like this. We don't know where it goes. It could be a little bit darker though. There we go. Now you can see it. So let's just have this come down here, and then maybe it comes back up. We don't know. And then maybe we can come back to our round brush here and just fill in a little bit of this. We don't know where it goes, but maybe it goes like this. Yeah, I think that'll look really nice. Gotta pay attention to your land, you know. Don't have it just one flat surface, you know? Because the earth is not flat. Anyways. Now, what I want to do here is I want to separate the background from the foreground, right? So this is what we're going to do. We're going to grab phthalo green, right? And we're going to go back to that yellow hue. And not too bright, just enough that you can see it over the land, the dirt. So now we can go back to our fan brush here. Zoom in a little bit. Make sure that's a little bit thicker. And see, since I have it at a lower opacity, I'm going to higher it a little bit, make it a little higher, excuse me. See how it separates now? That's gorgeous. Maybe I can make it a little bit thicker here. Since we're just filling this in just a little bit. There we go. I want to have that sparkle just a little bit more, so I'm going to increase the brightness of my color here and maybe lower the thickness of my brush a little bit. There. See how it's just sparkling now? You want to leave some spots where it's a little duller in color, that way, you know, there's a little bit of shadow in there. Okay. That's looking pretty good. So now what we want to do is, I want to have another plane right here. And to do that, I have to blend out the bottom of the patch of grass. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my blender brush again. Going to lower the size and just blend this out a little bit. So you can't really tell where the colors blend, but you can tell that it's diffused. I want to have maybe just a tiny bit. There we go. That's a lot better. So you want to have the shadows in there, remember. Because without shadows, you can't see light. Or if you can't see dark, you can't see light. Alright? So that's about good. So let's go back to our fan brush here. And let's lower the brightness of it just a tiny bit. Maybe increase the opacity just a little bit here. And let's just go for it. And then we're going to go underneath to create that plane, you see? And you see how those dark places create another plane. That's exactly what we want. And what I want to do here also, since some of it is kind of confusing to see, I'm going to lighten up my color a little bit, almost to yellow. And watch what happens here. Watch what happens. It just gives that. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting so excited because this is just. It's an amazing feeling what you can do with painting. I can't stress this enough. It's so easy. I think a lot of people try and run before they can walk, especially when it comes to doing art. And once you once you feel that sense of power, I can create anything. And it's just it's so amazing. All you gotta do is just put the time and effort into it, you know? Okay, so now we got that done. I think it would be cool to have some reflections underneath the ground right here. So this is where the magic happens, right? So what we're gonna do is we're going to darken our color a little bit, dull it down just a hair. And we're gonna come here. Now watch this, watch this, watch this. We're gonna come over the edge of our land here. And remember, we have to reflect what's above it. So maybe we can just do a little bit of this. Maybe bring it a little bit higher. And just follow the contour of the land too. Alright, so we're just gonna go all the way across here. Alright, look at that, look at that. And then what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna use a dry brush from the custom art pack that we have. And I'm just gonna do this, watch. I'm gonna bring it down. You can see the paint move, look at that. Just bring it down, you can see the strokes in there too, that's so wonderful. And you can just move it down, and you can see it blend just a little bit, right? Oh, but we're not done. We're not done. So we're just gonna move it down here. Since this part is a little higher, we're gonna move our reflection down even further. So make sure it moves, moves, moves. There we go. Right? It doesn't have to be perfect. Remember, art is very subjective and it's a very individualistic thing. So however you want your painting, that's how your painting's gonna be. So now, watch this. This is so cool. I'm gonna bring in the opacity about halfway, and I'm gonna bring in the size a little bit bigger. So watch. Instant reflections. Just come across very, very lightly. And even though your opacity is about halfway, gotta be very careful. Just look at that. And maybe we can just blend this out a little bit. Maybe just bring over the darkers in the middle over there. And maybe just bring it down just a touch over here. And maybe just a little higher over here. There. See how awesome that looks now? We have reflections. Oh, so good. So now what I want to do is I'm going to add some water lines. And we have a palette knife. And I've already And I've already used this in a warm-up painting, so the size is very, very small. And what you want to do with this is once we get our color, we're going to add some water lines. So you can't rotate your brush itself, so you have to be a little bit careful here. Your water lines aren't going to be perfectly straight. But if you tilt your canvas maybe about 45 degrees counterclockwise, you can get water lines pretty straight. So there you go. And just keep in mind that the smaller your palette knife is, the size of it, the harder you'll have to push. And that simulates actually painting on real canvas. Imagine that. So now what I want to do is let's have another landmass looking over the lake, right? So let's go back to you know what? Let's go to the round brush. What the heck? And let's pick our dark color again. And let's just go to town here. Just tap in stuff. Maybe increase the opacity. It doesn't matter. Maybe it goes like this. Maybe has like we can just fill in the bottom of this. Doesn't matter. Yeah, that's great. Maybe this comes in like that, a little bit flatter. Alright, so now, what I want to do here, I want to have a big tree here. I know it's going to cover up some of the clouds, but hear me out. Let's have our dark color. We're on our dark color already. Sometimes I get tongue-tied because I'm so excited. Let's have our fan brush here a lot bigger. And you know what? Let's have this on the left. Yeah, let's have this on the left. So I'm going to start at the very top. And I'm just going to put in a shape that it's kind of similar to a tree, right? There we go. I kind of feel bad for the trees in the background and that water line right here, but you know what? It's all good. We'll be forgiven. Okay. And you might think, they screwed up their painting. And like Bob Ross says, maybe I did. But you know what? I'm going to steal his line here. We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents. Alright, so we're going to just take our dark color, and excuse me, my dog's barking in the background, but hey, he's having fun too. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over to a lighter color here, lower the opacity, and we're just going to put in some highlights here. Let me zoom out here, maybe our sunlight is coming in through the center of our canvas. It's going to be coming from the right, right? So remember, don't kill all your dark areas. So we're just tapping very, very lightly here. Maybe some light peeks out on that side. And maybe it comes a little bit over this way towards the bottom of the tree. We don't know. Excuse me, my nose is a little stuffy here. So now watch this. This is so cool. Now we're gonna lighten our color almost yellow, right? And since our brush is really big and our opacity is it's not exactly full, check this out. We can control how light or how dark our highlights are going to be, especially on the edges of the branches here. Look at that. And then maybe something peeks out over there, and maybe just a little bit over here, just a few taps. Maybe that part needs a little bit too. Just look at that, right? Look how gorgeous that is. And believe me, you can do this too. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to have maybe one hill peeking out in the foreground and then one going over it, right? So, using the same brush, and we're just gonna dull down our color a little bit, and then we're just gonna come over here like this, over here, and then maybe extend it down just a little bit, lower the opacity, so it gets darker, 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 darker as we go down. See, we can already create planes here. All right, and then let's increase the opacity. Maybe lower the size of our brush. Come back over here, put in some lighter areas where the sun hits. And then, I'm so excited, you guys, I'm sorry. Maybe add a little bit more sunlight here in certain parts, you know? There we go. And then over here, since we want to have a different plane, we don't need to blend out the other part of the hill, right? So check this out, check this out. We're gonna increase the opacity almost to full, and we're just gonna go to town right here. Watch this. Watch. We have another plane. Look at that. And then we're gonna lower the opacity again. And maybe just, I don't know. Let's just put in some more leaves. It gets darker, darker, darker. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. And you know what? I think, yeah, that tree's a little lonely. So let's have another tree over here. Let's have one more tree. All right. So we're going to increase this. You know what? We don't want to have our round brush lonely. So let's switch to the round brush. Increase the opacity all the way. Let's go to our dark color here. And then maybe fill out this side. Okay? And remember, the heck, let's just go all the way across like this, right? We don't know. There we go. Alright, now we can go back to our light color. Maybe about right there's right. Let's go back to our fan brush here. And let's just start from the top. Okay? Remember, don't kill all your light colors. Don't kill all your dark colors, excuse me. I'm just so excited, you know? You know, I've always loved painting, but I didn't know if I had the capacity to do it. And, with this technique, I found out that I can. And you can too. So what we're going to do now is just go back to our lightest color here, since this is the closest. Increase the opacity. And you know what? After a little bit of highlights here and there, maybe there's some over here, just to separate that from the background a little bit. Maybe that pokes out a little bit. And you know what? Let's just take our detail brush here, lower the opacity a little bit, go to a really dark color, maybe add a few twigs over here, maybe some over here, maybe over here. And you know what? I think we're going to sign this. We're going to come over to our G pen, switch to a light color, and this is where we actually add another layer. And I'm going to sign this. And I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this. If you followed along, I want to see what you guys did. And I hope you guys enjoyed watching. And I'll see you next time. And from me to you, happy painting, and thank you all for watching. Bye.